Yeah, so I think Mike makes a really interesting point about the few covering up for the many. And it just so happens that the many that we're talking about in this case, the usual suspects, industrials, banks, et cetera, their market caps are just not big enough to matter that much to what the averages do on a closing basis. So then you look at the NASDAQ names here at all-time high, record closing monthly high, and you see that 72% of NASDAQ names are above their 200-day. Then go look at the small cap 600. 28% of names in the small cap 600 are above a 200-day moving average. That means more than 3/4 of small caps are either in no man's land or in a downtrend. That is a disastrous condition for that market, and it just doesn't seem to matter to what goes on with the major averages, and it's designed that way. So I think there's a lot of confusion right now among investors, depending on which 10 stocks they look at first when they log into their account. Looking at gold, I would also throw in REITs. These are two areas where people are accumulating that have nothing to do with tech. They have a lot to do with people being concerned with either extremely low rates on the Treasury side and no expectation of any kind of rate hike anytime in the near future, or they have to do with people being concerned about geopolitical volatility, the election, the government kind of losing control of certain parts of the country, and just this looming sense that when we head into this election, there is going to be a lot of instability, not just on social media, but out in the streets. And you see gold tend to work in environments like that. So gold is now at the highest level it's traded at since 2012. Nobody who's bought gold over the last 4 years has a loss, and it's a commodity. So the way this tends to work is it trends for long periods of time once it gets into a defined trend. And I don't think anyone would disagree. We are in a defined uptrend, up 65% from 2015, and we're about to take out the 2011 highs, so all-time highs. So you will see that feed on itself, and you will see people start to tell stories about why they're buying gold. Some will say it's inflation, others will say it's deflation, and neither camp will even bother to argue with each other, even though those two things are the opposite. They will continue to buy. I think you'll get new highs in gold, and I think it'll start making the cover of magazines, newspapers. It's going to be a very big story.
Mike, Josh, pointing to the fact that the big tech stocks clearly have a lot of momentum. What have the flows been like into those sorts of tech names?
Yeah, that's one of the cautionary issues, Wolf. I mean, the inflows into tech-only ETFs, they did have this tremendous surge. It looks like on a short-term basis, you'd want to take the other side of that and say maybe they've gotten too overloved, overheated. But just so many of the other things are working in favor of just reinforcing this trend, this kind of high liquidity environment where you have doubts about the economic pace. And they just continue to kind of roll ahead. So the flows have been very strong. You would expect them to take a pause. That would definitely penalize the indexes, presumably. But that has not really taken hold for very long in this stretch, that kind of dynamic.
Why would we – and why would we be surprised by flows? I just want to say one thing. Why would we be surprised by flows? Flows have always followed performance since before we were even keeping record of such a thing as flows. Everybody understands this. So if you're an investor and you have $1 to invest and you see Shopify was $300 a share in March and it hit $1,000 today, and you see Tesla go from $350 to $1150 in 2.5 months, of course your next incremental dollar is going toward what just already worked. That's the way that this has always been played. So I would be more surprised if the flows into tech-only ETFs weren't as strong as they are. The fact that they're strong is not surprising at all.
No, it's not surprising. It's just that when they do get above a certain pace, it usually means, okay, everybody's figured this out, time for a break. We'll see if that plays out.